NWA, and Kevin was par, because I copy and pasted this question, of Jim Crockett Promotions in 1988, during the time when some of the talent was leaving due to either not being paid or uncertainty surrounding the then potential sale of the company of Turner Broadcasting. When was the first time you heard about Turner, buying what would then become WCW? How many months process before he actually bought it?
It came quick, but we all started to see things that weren't going the way they should. Did you ever hear about when they were filming? I forget the name of the show. Was it Worldwide or whatever for Crockett, and they were going to pay the guys a percentage. I mean,
I've never heard that.
Well, he filmed. It was almost like you were going to be paid for working on TV. And he owed Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard a lot of money, Jimmy Crockett. And I was saying to myself, they're flying to Greenville, North Carolina, 90 miles away. They said to me, you can get on the jet if you want. I'll drive. I'll be home earlier. They started when we had the bash. We go to the West Coast, but we stay in Vegas. We fly to LA, fly back to Vegas. We fly to San Francisco, back, San Diego, back, Portland, all the way up. I mean, they were just hemorrhaging money, and nobody said anything to them. And they were lucky. Again, I mentioned how powerful Jim Barnett was. If Jim didn't broker that deal, it might have just dissolved completely. But he knew Turner very well, Barnett. That's how influential he was. And he knew that Ted had a soft spot for wrestling.
Now, Nikita Koloff once told me, I interviewed him about a year ago, and he said, I don't know if this was just before the sale or just after the sale, but there's a company-wide meeting, and questions aren't really being answered, and there's only one person who stands up and sort of takes charge of the meeting who's in the crowd, and it's Jim Cornette. And I think he stands up on a table or stands up on a chair and says, hey, we're not getting enough information here. Can you fill us in? Do you remember that meeting at all?
Yeah. Jimmy, I happen to think the world of Jimmy. And Jimmy is a no bullshit type of guy who's not going to take any bullshit. And they were, at that period you could smell the rat, but you didn't know where the smell was coming from. And they were trying their best to hide it. And I thought about this. Some things are hard to believe as time goes on. It's like, here's the accountant. Comes out and tells Jimmy Crockett one day, you're X million dollars in the hole. What, you don't alert the guy that you're the head accountant? You don't alert him that they're in trouble? Something doesn't equate to me. Does it equate to you? I mean, here's a business that was thriving, selling out, big money. But if the debits and credits don't add up, wouldn't you earlier than when you got into such a quandary say, hey, we got a problem here? That never added up to me. Does that make sense, James?
When you say it that way, and I don't know anything about this, but do you think someone was pocketing quite a substantial amount of money out of the company?
I did, definitely. That's where I was going. There was some leaky hole somewhere. It had to be up top. It wasn't going to be the accountant's assistant doing it. You know what I mean?
We'll talk about your role after Jim Crockett Promotions come to WCW, but what were the fundamental differences between JCP in October 1988 and WCW in, let's say, December 1988? What changed immediately?
Going to Atlanta was the big change. When did Hurt come?
Great question. Maybe somewhere in 89. I don't know. I'll look it up.
Things were, everybody was kind of tiptoeing around, not sure what was going to happen. Because, you know, this was a pretty monumental thing. The Crockett's have been promoting since the 30s. And lo and behold, the whole empire falls apart. So guys that had worked there for, like Flair and Tully and Hart, worked there, and Jimmy worked there comfortably for years, now are wondering what's going on. So there was the problem of, is this going to last too? You know what I mean? Who's going to take over? And then, as you said, Hurt's going to come in 89, and then that panic sets. That's it.
According to the always reliable Wikipedia, it's January the 3rd, 1989. So it was only a couple of months period, if that. So I know Jim Crockett booked very briefly, just as a fill-in booker. And I don't know if like George Scott did at some point as well around that time.
Yes, George did for a short time. And George intentionally didn't allow the main event on a pay-per-view to be seen. I think it was Steamboat, because he thought it would hurt his towns. I mean, you know, we're talking about you have to evolve. If you want to stay relevant, you have to evolve. I mean, they got a lot of flack. I don't know the whole situation, but I'm sure they had to return a bunch of money. You know what I mean? And I was Steamboat, and it was in New Orleans, and I might have been Steamboat versus Flair. I don't know if it was Flair, but I'm pretty sure it was involving Steamboat. And he had booked that in all the towns around, you know what I mean? So he didn't want to show a finish. Crazy.